Hello and welcome to another episode of Conquering My Collection. In this video I'm going to be talking about a film that I watched and conquered from my collection maybe about 5 months ago, something like that. So this is kind of a late one. This was during the big lockdown, the first lockdown from March, where I stayed home for 3 months. Didn't go out for 3 months, and a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends in the world, sent me two Blu-rays. In fact, one of them I've already covered it's right here, in a recent Horror Month 2020 video, and that was Deep Rising. So he sent me Deep Rising, and he sent me another film, which is one of his all-time favorites, and I'd never seen it before. I had experienced the sequel to this film in the form of a video game called Stranglehold on the Xbox 360, which was an incredible action game. I really loved playing that. I have a lot of fond memories in like 2009, 2010 playing that game and just destroying everything in my sight, from enemies to like every single part of the scenery. Like that game Stranglehold is just, it's fucking carnage. And it was a game that starred Chow Yun-fat and was, I guess, produced by, not sure if it wasn't really directed by, but was made with the blessing of and the direction of the great director whose name is now escaping me, John Woo. John Woo, of course, yeah. So for some reason, Ang Lee always pops into my head when I think about John Woo. I think, do they look kind of similar, maybe? I don't know if that's, yeah, I don't know. It feels like they're two directors who kind of both moved to Hollywood at a certain point. And I think around the same time in the 90s, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, for some reason, whenever I go to say John Woo, Ang Lee just pops up and says, well, hang on, what about me? Like, I don't know, there's some sort of cross-reference there for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, John Woo. Then this game was called Stranglehold, but the original film is Hard Boiled. So this is starring Chow Yun-fat as Officer Tequila, and it's been long enough that I don't really remember like character names or anything apart from Officer Tequila, of course. And it's kind of, I would say, dual billing with the actor Tony Leung. Leung? I have no idea how you pronounce that. It always bothers me. It probably bothered me when I did the review for In the Mood for Love. But Tony, who is just one hell of a charismatic dude, and I think both of them make for a great duo in the film. They're kind of on opposing sides. They join forces. Like, it's just such a great character piece between the two of them, even though there's lots of moving parts in this film. Now, actually, the Blu-ray release I have, I should say before I throw it down there, this is a Spanish release. I'm not sure if this is what they call a grey release, meaning it's a bootleg, but because it's Spain, it's somehow legal. Not entirely sure. But yeah, it's the disc feels like kind of home printed. You know, it has that kind of, there's like a texture to it. I feel like if I just push my thumb in, I'd kind of blur off all of the color, you know. But it looked pretty good, actually. It was actually, I was surprised by it, considering it was a bootleg. But yeah, it was officially bought from Amazon and everything, but Spain's a little weird like that. And this film really doesn't have a definitive high-definition release, at least an English-friendly one. Now, there is the Hong Kong Rescue release, and Hong Kong Rescue is essentially a bootleg company, but they go above and beyond in giving films like this the respect and the the kind of attention to detail that they deserve in terms of extras, in terms of the way that it looks. I haven't bought one myself yet, and again, I know the legality of that is a little bit up in the air and murky, and but and also it's like, I think it's like a one-man business, so it's like, and there's not really much you can you can't really just order it straight away. You might have to wait a few months, and so I haven't really dipped my toes in yet. But if I was to venture down the Hong Kong Rescue alley, it would be it would be the Hard Boiled release, which I believe is their like number one, well, spine number one, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know, maybe even talking about that on YouTube isn't like the smartest thing in the world, but that's something I'm very interested in, because it just doesn't seem like with the rights that this film is going to get like a really good Blu-ray release, and that seems a shame, because holy shit. I actually watched it twice, which for me is very rare. If you follow me for any length of time, you'll know that it's rare for me to watch a film more than once, within a year or two, and especially a film I'd just seen. It does happen, and usually the reason is because I want to show it to Connie. So I did, and she didn't enjoy it as much as I did, but holy fuck. what a movie. Like, from the opening scene, the kind of moody, sweaty, kind of dingy vibe of the city and this bar where Officer Tequila is playing jazz, and then him and his co-worker, they're police, they go into this kind of tea room in this building, and it's just fucking mental. It's like the game, and it's funny that I played the game first, and now you're seeing it, and now I'm seeing it play out in real life. As opposed to people who played the game who'd seen the movie, be like, wow, it's like the movie. And obviously the game is a bit more over the top and extreme because you can kind of do anything. But even then, with all the kind of practical effects in this film, with things exploding all over the place, gunfire going everywhere, heroic bloodshed, I think they call. It's kind of like a term that they place on this kind of film where it's, you go back to like the samurai movies where there's swords go flying everywhere and there's blood spurts and all that, but this is like modern cops, guns, bullets, blood, just guts. It's just proper. Well, it's not guts. It's not gory, but it's proper violent. And that opening tea house like massacre is unbelievable and sets the film off on like a really strong footing as to like, okay, announcing, just slam, like this is what this film is going to be. I think like the tail end of that sequence is Chow Yun-fat kind of like leaning on a railing as he's sliding down to the bottom of the building, just with both guns, just boom, 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 and you're just like, holy shit. And so I'm not going to go into the plot too much because it is what it is, but I really liked the plot. I really liked Tony's character, who, you're not quite sure, where he lands, and he's such a charismatic actor that the way he plays it, I feel like I'm supposed to like him, but he's doing bad things. And then we learn more about him as the film goes on. I just loved how when him and Tequila kind of cross paths, it's just kind of like, it's almost like a date with destiny, And there are a few things about the plot in terms of like who he was and who he was working for, Tony, that I picked up more in the second viewing. I thought, oh, okay, that's where that links up. Because it would get a bit confusing. And I think the subtitles aren't the best, like in terms of correctly identifying everything, or at least maybe even on like the speed of the subtitles appearing on screen, so you don't get everything unless you go back and rewind, that kind of thing. But the film is completely built around these huge action set pieces. I would say the beginning one kind of announces itself as like, this is the kind of film you're getting yourself in for. And then maybe halfway through the film you have the big warehouse scene, which is just nuts, fucking nuts. And then if that wasn't enough, you have the hospital sequence. Now, I say sequence. This is like an hour-long section of the film. Now, it's a 2-hour movie, and I'd read beforehand that, the final kind of showdown at the hospital, it needs to be seen to be believed. Like there's a lot of impressive stuff going on there in terms of the stunts and the action. And so the action of the film, like the plot and the story, starts to converge at this location of a hospital. And I'm checking the running time. I'm thinking it's like an hour and 2 minutes. And I'm thinking, we're not going to be here for an hour. Like, sure, okay, something's going to happen, then we'll leave the hospital. No, we're there for a full hour. And it's not like wall-to-wall action, but it's not far off. Like, it's nuts. Like, the scale of it, the length of it, it's like that thing, do you go for quality over quantity? This has quantity and quality. And there's a really good, like, henchman character. And if you've seen the film, you probably know exactly who he is. He has like a really interesting, like he's got a cool look. He just looks like a ruthless killer and a perfect bad guy. But towards the end, a little bit of honor creeps into his character in a way that's really interesting. Chow Yun-fat, unbelievable. Like again, just effortlessly cool. Right from the first shot of the film, when he slams down his tequila on the table and it's like hard boiled, and he's just, I don't know, there's a looseness to him, and a playfulness to him, and then with Tony's character, there's this kind of almost internal kind of, you're seeing what this character has been through. Like there's a lot going on behind his eyes in a way. Like I like it. I like the depth to it. Like it's not like super deep in terms of the characterization, but there's enough there that to me it really does feel like we're not just here to blow shit up, but they do that, like, and then some. Yeah, again, I don't want to like go into it too much. I feel like this is something where you could do a really cool in-depth review of it, but having seen it twice, instantly became one of my favorite action films. I think it's one of the best action films I've ever seen. I want to see more of John Woo's stuff from around that time period. I've seen like John Woo's, his like Mission Impossible 2 and some of those films, like from kind of the later part of his career, or at least when he came to Hollywood. I mean, Jesus Christ. I'm thinking about Mission Impossible 2 as if it happened a few years ago. That's 22 decades ago now. Jesus Christ. But I have seen one of his earlier films, Hand of Death, which was okay. I almost was expecting so much from that because it's John Woo. But, I think he maybe really found his stride in kind of the real dramatic and full of flair kind of action films in the late 80s with like I don't know if the Yakuza movies, but the police kind of action movies like this. Apparently, is it Better Tomorrow, I think, is one of them that came out around this time when Hardboiled was released within that kind of period in the late 80s, early 90s. I think this was early 90s, like 91, 92 maybe. I'm not sure if it'll say on the back of this release. 1992. I'm surprised they even put the year down, given the fact that this is a bootleg. Anyway, speaking of the baby, like what a memorable moment that is towards the end of the film. But there's a one-take shot in the film. Fucking nuts. They're going through these corridors in the hospital. They got these shotguns. They're blowing the windows out. They're jumping through the windows, going down the corridors, and then I think they go into an elevator. And I think the trick they did was they kind of shut the doors, redressed the set, opened it up, and then you just keep going again. And so it's like this mental, like one take, pure carnage and mayhem, just literally just spraying all over the place with bits of wood and metal and glass and. And then that's another thing is you get these physical squibs popping off on people's bodies, and it's the kind of stuff that you just don't see anymore because they do it with blood. They do it with blood, of course they do it with blood. They do it with CGI blood, which just, it never feels right. It never looks right, never feels real, always takes me out of the action. I'm not saying I want people to get hurt, but I think that it's been proven you can do squibs in a way that aren't, incredibly dangerous. It seems to have worked for many other films and people who have done stunts with squibs. There's just something tangible to it when you see that kind of pop of the fabric and the spurt of blood, and it just feels like you've actually seen someone get shot in a movie kind of fantasy sense, because of course it's a lot different, I would imagine, if you saw someone actually get riddled with bullets right in front of you, as opposed to in a movie where it's all like they're flying around like this, and it's like, it's not that kind of it's not that kind of visual in real life, but it goes along with the kind of it's kind of like a cartoony, caricature-esque vision of violence, I suppose, that you get in these kind of action movies, even down to martial arts, where it's like people don't fight like that, and even people who can fight that good don't fight like that because it just doesn't work that way, but it's all about entertaining the audience and keeping them on the edge of their seat. And with Hard Boiled, I'm just like, what the fuck is going to happen next? Because it keeps building gradually and gradually to the point where I feel like I'm going to see, two of the principal actors running around on fire or something, because, like, why not? Like, it's just, where does it go from there? And, so Hard Boiled, I loved it. I really fucking loved it. Great film, great action film, and one to go back to again and again. I just hope that one day we get, like, a really good boutique label release of it, where it's, like, a nice restoration, some good extras, but mainly just having this film in the best possible quality, because it did look very good. Don't get me wrong, and I'm really happy to see it in high definition, as opposed to, I'm sure people have grown up with this movie on really bad, like, VHS copies where, like, compared to the Blu-ray transfers we see now, it's probably almost incomprehensible, but the spirit of it still kind of jumped out of that fuzzy, VHS quality screen for some people, and then no doubt bootleg DVDs and so on, and probably dubbed as well. So to be able to see it in the original language, in high definition quality, even though it didn't look the best, was pretty damn good in my book, I think. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. If you've seen the film, let me know what you think of it, and if you've seen any other John Woo films that you would recommend to me, I'd like to hear them, and I'll see you in the next video.
He's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans and calling into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you.